still happening in Tallahassee. It is still happening. I'm ready to talk some Florida State versus Pittsburgh. We've done enough talking about the Louisville game. We've had enough. I'm tired of it. Nate Greer is giving me too many bad stats to look at. I'm sure he's going to try to do that again tonight, and I'm going to be really pissed off. We might mute him, but we'll see. But with me this evening is Nate Greer, our lead recruiting insider at NoelGanby.com. Also with us, Steve Pointer is joining us in case of, everybody that's not going to be with us. Dustin's not here. Carlos isn't here. Austin isn't here. But Steve Pointer from Unconquered Talk, he was also with us on the Renegade Roundup previewing this beautiful season about a month and a half ago. But what's going on, gentlemen? What's going on, Steve?
Not much. Just happy to get through the bye week and ready to get some more football going on here. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, that Renegade Roundup was so
Wrong.
long, but you know the good old days.
That's all.
Yeah.
That's all.
Before we knew just how bad Florida State was.
I definitely think that we need to have a Renegade Roundup season recap just to save ourselves. Maybe talk about it. I don't know if anybody wants to go back and look at what they said beforehand. I don't think anybody wants to. But it's all right. It's football. That's what happens. And
Yep.
Tallahassee's still in a different kind of state right now as a program. So it's all right. It's okay. But yeah, as always, you guys can listen to this podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify. If you're on iTunes and any other platform, make sure you hit that subscribe button so then you'll be notified whenever we release a new episode. If you're on iTunes, feel free to rate 5 stars and leave a review. We'll read them out. Definitely appreciate you guys tuning in this season. We've seen a great new increase in listens and really appreciate it. For y'all coming here and hanging out with us every week. As always, we will do an instant reaction podcast after the game on Saturday. So look out for that on Saturday evening. But let's go and jump into this. I do want to say, though, we do have a guest coming on around 9:30 in the middle of this podcast. Jack is going to be joining us. If you didn't see it, he went viral all across social media. Also was on College Game Day. Madison Social was putting him out there on their social media too. But he's the one that got the Mike Norvell tattoo and the famous Norvell picture with his cornrows back when he was playing ball. He got a tattoo of Norvell because he made a bet if Florida State were to beat number 5 UNC, he was going to get the tattoo, and he kept his word, and he's got a pretty big tattoo on his leg. So he's going to be joining us at 9:30. I'm excited I have a lot of questions to ask him. But he kept his word. His word.
And that bodes well for his future. Man of his word.
It does.
Yeah,
that's a good thing going towards him.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, let's jump into some football talk. We've done enough about talking about Louisville, guys. I know y'all talked about it on Unconquered Talk. I'm tired of it. I've had enough. Let's jump into it. Obviously, you have a bye week for Florida State. You hope that you give some help to Jordan Travis, some other guys that have been dealing with some pain. But let's jump into it. Halfway through the season, what are y'all's thoughts? Because we're now the last little bit of the season. Still some big games to be played, and most certainly in Clemson here in a few weeks. But what are y'all's thoughts on the program after you've had well over half a season with Mike Norvell and staff?
I'll go first. So I'm bought into the direction of Mike Norvell. I think that, Florida State fans needed to come to the realization it's not a quick fix. I think that he is a smart coach. I think he's an offensive mind. I think that whether or not you like what he has on staff, you look at the whole picture. He's the staff is a quality staff. He's came in proven to be a guy who can bring in great coaches. So I believe in the future of the program. With that said, really happy with the offensive line. Really surprised. I think Coach Atkins is the best hire of any coach, position coach, or assistant coach in the country. What he's been able to do with that offensive line, I think is, extremely surprising. And also, they simply look serviceable, minus your weekly Davion Johnson offsides, which is, I think he's got 2,000 games in a row where that's happened. They played really well and almost dominant and sometimes in the run game. So I think there's a lot to be excited there. I think that's my biggest takeaway of the offense. Um, you know, when you look halfway through the season, I think defensively, you just sit here and wonder, what's going on. Um, and that's my biggest disappointment is coming into the season, all the preseason hype with the front four, three guys in the PFF top 10, all the talk about Marv being a top 10 draft pick. Um, yeah, I mean, there's only been one guy that's lived up to the hype, and that's Asante Samuel. He's played like like a dog he is. I just I don't get it. And when you sit here and listen to all the stuff off the field and all the gossip, and it makes, like we talked about last week, it makes sense when you hear who really is the issue with this team. When you sit here and hear who may or may not transfer, it makes sense why you see the product on the field on that side of the ball. Really like what I've seen on offense. I really think that Norvell is a creative coach. He's shown that he can adjust and make things happen. So I'm bought in the long term future, but there's got to be some wholesale changes. They have to take advantage of the APR lift for a couple of years and just kick everyone's ass out who does not want to be there.
What are your takes, Steve,
Yeah,
on that?
yeah. Yeah, I really agree with Nate on a lot of those points. I really like the trajectory of the program. And, one of the things we really needed to see this year, that we haven't seen since Monk died, really, back in, what was that, 2016, 2017, is the program and players in the program being held accountable for their actions on the field, off the field, in the classroom, everywhere.
Hmm.
We just haven't really seen that. Taggart was able to get people more accountable in the classroom, and he started the grades started to improve, the APR started to improve, and we need to give him some credit for that. But you know, we saw all the penalties, the stupid penalties. Not even like the false starts and stuff like that, but the late hits and stuff like that. We see them constantly in the last 3-4 years, and they'd never get punished. Stuff would happen in practice, and people would miss meetings or whatever, and they wouldn't miss games, they wouldn't miss any time. You see that changing under Norvell, and we're going to get a little bit later to talking some about some of those issues with some of the veteran players, and there's a little bit of pushback, which is it's healthy for a good program to that's in a change to have some of that kind of stuff go on. Maybe healthy is not the right word, but it's normal at least to have pushback
Hmm.
from the older guys who aren't used to accountability, who aren't used to being disciplined and having that kind of stuff go on, and having coaches be tough on them, to now all of a sudden have that happen. When they've been living scot free
Coddled.
for 3 or 4 years. You know, so there's going to be pushback. I would say there's probably some issues if uh, we weren't having some of those issues with some of the older guys, because that would mean Norvell's just kind of letting them skirt again, and we can't have that. We keep letting these guys skirt and do these kind of things, with these issues. It's just going to continue, and it's going to infect the younger guys. But now the younger guys see, okay, well, if I do that stuff, I'm going to have suspensions. I'm gonna have discipline. I'm gonna have to do extra stadiums, whatever the punishment is. So that's the kind of things that I really look for in a new regime. We didn't really ever see that with Taggart. We didn't, I can't really think of any suspensions, in his first year to where it's like, okay, that guy's suspended. Where this year we've seen Lucas was suspended. I think Cooper was suspended for the first quarter. It wasn't, none of this stuff is really said out loud, but Cooper didn't play his normal rotation for the first quarter against Louisville. I think he was. I think he was suspended. Lucas was suspended the first half
Hmm.
against, who was that? Notre Dame? No, Jacksonville State.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Maurice Smith was. Warren Thompson didn't play that whole game. Uh, you know, Tamarian Terry sat there for a whole half after he cursed Dugans out. And so you've seen a whole bunch of suspensions. That stuff's not being, they're not letting that stuff slide anymore, and they're suspending those guys and disciplining those guys. And so I love to see that. That's what good coaches do. They discipline when there's disciplinary issues. And that's the first step to creating a culture, which is the first step any coach has to do. Whenever you come into a new situation, that's what you got to do. You got to create your culture before you get players or anything like that. You got to create your culture. You got to set the tone for your culture. Norvell's doing that, so that's always a good first step. And that's outside of the amazing coaching job he's doing with our offense, and our defense just has. It's hard to even gauge what's going on coaching wise because there's just so many holes with personnel and issues that's going on that it's like I don't even I'm not saying Fuller's a good coach. He might be the worst coach ever, but it's just hard to tell right now. But generally, yeah, I think the trajectory that we're on is a very good one. But we got to get eventually we're going to have to get some elite players if we want to compete where Florida State wants to compete at.
Going back to what you were talking about, Steve, and I think it's a good point you brought up about Terry and a lot of these suspensions we haven't really heard about much. I mean, you don't really find out until we're in warm-ups, we're watching warm-ups, and some might not even happen until we look at the second half. We're like, wait a second, we didn't see him play in the first half, whatever.
Yeah.
And good coaching that goes to any player. If you're screwing up, it shows more to your program and to a team. If you're laying down the law against one of your top, if not the most talented guys on your team with Tamarion Terry, that sends shock waves to your other players on the team. So I think that's a good point from Steve. And then also, I look back at the staff beforehand with Willie Taggart, and you look back at number 5 with Dontavius Jackson, and he was out there making the same foolish mistakes, hurting his team game after game. And you kind of get a tap on the helmet, and you look back out on the field. He's out there 2 drives later, or after he was taken away, he was sat down for the rest of the game. I forget what it was, but then the next week, okay, we don't see him out there for a drive, and then he's back out there. And guess what? He makes a mistake 2 quarters later, and that's something that I think this staff or this team was used to under Willie Taggart and others. It's just a different disciplined area. And, we're going to get into it here in a minute, but this team is not used to this. They are not used to it. It is going to take a while. It is going to take some guys not being able to deal with it, and they will leave this team. And that's fine. That's okay. You don't want it to be a whole mass, everybody escape. But, at the end of it all, this is friggin' football. I mean, you're going to get bitched out. You're going to be called out. You're going to have to sit your ass on the bench if you're doing stupid things. I mean, that's something that at least I grew up playing with high school. I did some numerous stupid things. I sat my ass down. I mean, I would get in trouble. I mean, you just got to be held accountable. And that's something that was not – it's showing right now. It was showing that there was not a lot of accountability the last 2 years, maybe the 3 years, even under Jimbo Fisher, not under Willie Taggart mainly. It also starts off with Jimbo Fisher's year where he had both feet out the door after the NC State game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, let's be realistic. What do these guys think's going to happen in the NFL? They're getting released.
They're not going to make it.
And they will not make it. And it's just a bad combination. They don't know how to win, and they don't want to be held accountable. And those guys are the ones that are they're anchoring down the ship, and got to cut that loose, man. And I do think that we see some wholesale changes, this offseason.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not even to just expand on a little bit further. It's not even just suspensions that we're seeing. We're seeing people who aren't performing being sat down on the bench and not playing anymore and being replaced on the field. Which, to be fair with Taggart, we did see a lot of that, especially defensively. We saw constant rotation in the line, offensive line, linebackers, secondary, not as much, but we saw constant rotation trying to find guys who are going to perform, and they never found guys. But, hopefully Norvell's able to find some guys who can perform and give better effort and, be in the game more focused. That's one thing that this team it lacks focus. And some of that goes back to how practices are scheduled and organized and ran. If you don't have a well-organized practice, the players, their focus just isn't going to be there. So as you start practicing better and having more organized practices, that focus will eventually get there. But I mean, if you've been doing something for one way 3 or 4 years, a couple, a month of good practices isn't going to change you. So,
Mhm. Yeah. I want to jump into real quick before we jump into another thing. Who has impressed you guys real quick? If you want to name off a few players, we'll talk about who has impressed us the most and then who has disappointed us so far this season. But to you guys, who has impressed you the most throughout halfway over the season?
probably for me, I know who Nate's going to say. I'll let him say it. But I'll
Am
go
I
with
gonna?
you're going to say your boy Webb.
Uh-huh. That's one. That's one. That's one.
Yeah. Um, you know, at the very beginning of the season, um, I was given a lot of crap to love it. He was not playing well, but he's gotten better every game. And the last couple games, he's impressed is a relative term, I guess you can say, in that he's really turned it on. He's played a lot better, in the last couple games. And so in that way, compared to the Georgia Tech game, he's impressing me on how he's turned it around and how he's playing better. And some of that's just the acclimation to a new team, new staff, new scheme, and getting back in shape after COVID and stuff like that. But uh, I was looking the other day uh, on like the first 30 or so carries for different freshman running backs in Florida State history, and you got Warwick Dunn, you have Cam Akers, Devontae Freeman, Travis Minor, Dalvin Cook, and some of those guys. And I looked at their yards per carry in their first 30 carries, and a lot of them had garbage time carries, that Toafili has had as well. They're all between 4.5 to 5.5 yards per carry. Their first 30 carries at Florida State. You guys know what Toafili's yards per carry is right now?
8.9.
Yeah, over 8.0, over 8 yards per carry on his first 30 carries. So,
Mm-hmm.
am I going to say Toafili's as good as those guys? No, but that's very impressive to me. And a lot of his carries is not in garbage time. The first couple
Mm-hmm.
ones, yeah, but since then he's been a regular player. Catching the ball and running the ball in regular non-garbage time. So, it's really his vision, and he's got some good bursts. But that vision and that patience and knowing how to read blocks and stuff like that is probably the most impressive thing to me that I've seen this year. And looking forward over the next 3 years, if he can put 10, 15 pounds on, get to 6 foot, 200 pounds, that's going to be a beast to me, especially if he continues, like if he doesn't lose any burst. So that's my guy. That's the most impressive to me is definitely Toafili.
I got to start out with my boy Webb. Um, I said it on the first Unconquered Talk podcast that he should be a primary back, and I think he's just a 20 carry running back right now for this offense. Um, you know, the he should be the primary guy in the red zone. We've talked about it numerous times on this podcast, how he just does not go down on first contact. He runs hard. He's got great vision. He's got great balance. He's a good back, man. I really like what I see there. You got to put Jordan Travis up there as a pleasant surprise. Um, you know, coming in for Blackman, he's been a spark for this team. Um, that's what really pops out to me. Most disappointing, definitely. Um, Marvin Durden. We can beat the horse. Um,
Hmm.
just bad, man. It's just really maybe they came in out of shape. Maybe they got COVID and had some after effects. We don't know, but something is different in the fact, um, you know, how they're playing. I have my own opinion. I think it's more desire and want to and not liking the current staff. So I think that they're just playing like shit and being bitch asses. That's just my opinion. and it's disappointing.
I,
Go. You do your disappointing, Steven. I'll do my
yeah.
impress.
One point on Marv real quick, and I talked about it on Twitter a little bit on Conquer Talk, but Marv had a pretty good game. Not a better than he had a good game against Louisville. The rest of the defense was atrocious, but Marv was pretty dominant in that game. A lot of pressure in the backfield, a lot of disruption, and Marv looks to me like he's back to what we expected, or at least close to it. Durden has never been a disappointment to me because I've always known that's what Durden is. I've talked about it since he was a sophomore, that he'll have some flash plays here and there, but he's lacks effort, so he gets blown off the ball. He's always been that way ever since he was a sophomore, and I've always talked about it. I never thought he was anything impressive there. I'd hoped maybe he would grow out of that, but obviously he has not. So
real quick, Steve, not to cut you off, but it's his ability to get after the quarterback, I think, is what has been his strong suit. And
until he came in 15 pounds overweight,
and that's not there. That's what made him. And I think we both said it last year. He has the benefit of playing next to who he was playing with last year.
Yeah.
So how much did that really help him?
Right. So overall, most disappointing, man, I'm gonna have to go with probably whatever corner is opposite Asante Samuel has been the most disappointing to me. Whether it's Dent, whether it's Jones, whether it's Dotson, and some of them they've been dealing with little injuries and stuff like that, but just in general, they just have not been as good as we need them to be, and they haven't even been terrible. They've had a few plays here and there where it's like, what are you doing? But I don't know, that's to me is probably the most disappointing, is that other cornerback spot opposite of Samuel. And they just, I don't know, if we can get one of them 100% healthy and zoned in, our defense will be much better for it. We still got way too many other flaws to be good, but that's probably the most disappointing to me, is that other cornerback spot.
Most impressive for me, and this is, we've been talking about this whole offseason, and was supposed to come in and play good, but I think it's just because he keeps what he's saying. He talks trash on the field, but he keeps it up, is Asante Samuel Jr., and I think I was predicting that he'd be one of the top corners in the ACC, but he's ended up being one of the top corners in the country. And I'm really, it's fun watching him. Actually, we didn't really get to watch him against Louisville because it was shut down night. They really weren't going to the exterior like Nate talked about on our last podcast. But Asante Samuel Jr., I think, has really kept. He's gained a lot of respect for me, and he just continues, I think, to get better and better. And he's one of the few that have that dog mentality, that eagerness to make plays, eagerness to keep backing up what he's talking. He's one of the most talkative guys on the field during practices. It was so fun being able to watch him play during practices and see how he's able to call out things and make plays on the ball and lock down his receiver. I wish the defensive staff would put him in better positions, like, maybe putting him on Louisville's best wide receiver. But you know what? I'm not a coach, and I don't coach defense for Florida State, so that's not my job to do so. But I think Asante Samuel Jr. has impressed me the most. And I do like the Toa Philly pick because I was thinking him too, at least for offense, for how young he is and able to make some moves like that, and for how little he is. So he's not just young, but he's little. But we're seeing a guy that is going to grow into being, I think, a really solid running back and have a great career at FSU. So he's going to have a great year next year with Webb. And then the disappointing, I mean, it's hard to not argue at all. I mean, it's with any of y'all, but also just for me, Marvin Wilson, I think, has just been disappointing. If I could pick the whole position group, I could. We've already just gone off on it enough. I won't say too much more. Y'all have already said enough. But they played poor. They played worse than they had last year. I mean, it's just not even close to me. It's not even anywhere close, and that's just extreme. That's extremely disappointing. That's perfect for this segment. That is extremely disappointing.
I do have to put one more name in there as disappointing, and that's Janarius Robinson. Like,
I guess I wasn't expecting much from him this season. I'll be honest, because I feel like that. I think his ceiling was probably 2 years ago, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what his ceiling's like. Um, but we've got about 4 more minutes before we get Jack in here. We can probably jump into a little bit of this. Obviously, I think Steve had a take on a report that came out, I think from 247 Sports, talking about the meeting that they had. That they recently had a team meeting, and we were told that the veterans called a meeting, and 247 is reporting the same thing, but we were not hearing exactly on what it was about. And this creates a really good conversation, which we'll probably continue after Jack leaves here with us.
Mm-hmm.
We'll continue it, but we can get started now on it. But yeah, what was going on with that player meeting, Steve, and the that whole situation?
Yeah, I mean, from what 24/7 was saying, and I know we'll kick it to Nate here in a second because I know he's got a lot more information on it. I guess the veteran players, they didn't like that there was a Saturday practice called, and I wonder, what was the point of the meeting? Are they trying to have a boycott and boycott the practice? Were they trying to, just see how many people were on their side to maybe talk to Norvell about having the practice changed? I don't know. I mean, Nate might have a little bit more information on that, but it's a symptom of what we have seen for 4 years, what we talked about earlier. And people just, these veterans guys who have pretty much done what they have wanted to do, and all of a sudden they're, hey, you got to practice on a Saturday, and they're like, oh, like, you're a football player, you're at Florida State to play football. I mean, what are you doing? Why do you have a problem with practicing on a Saturday? I have some major issues with it, but I'll go ahead and let Nate give a little bit more information on exactly what went down.
So, don't have all the information yet, but when you sit here and talk to people about everything that's going on, behind the scenes, and it's just divisive. It's really a tale of two teams. You have your upperclassmen who really are happy to be at Florida State and happy to go out to the local club and pop bottles and say, I play for Florida State. And then you have the group of guys who are driven to get Florida State back, to be successful, to win, to have success on the field, off the field, weight room, everything they do, they want to have success. And the repetitive mention is the upperclassmen holding the team back. The repetitive mention is, texted one player specifically about another player meeting ? Well, I haven't heard much about that one. So that player wasn't even there. So how much of a team meeting is it? Is it really a group of guys that really are just trying to dictate what's going on? And if the talk is true, is that these guys wanted to boycott a practice and not have to practice during a bye week on a Saturday, man, get out.
Bye.
See you. See you. Call it what it is. Thank you for your time, but get the stepping. I mean,
Nate held it. God, that was the closest. That is the closest you've held.
It's so cancerous. I guess the shining light of it all is that when you look at the last two classes, very few, if any, are a part of that group that want to slack. It's that group that are bought in. That's that group that wants to have success. That's that group that wants to put in the work to get better. So that's why I look at the defense. I look at the upperclassmen. I don't think that Fuller has been perfect. He's definitely someone that should be held accountable for everything going on. He should, he should definitely be mentioned as, there's problems there. But when your tools don't work, you can't build. And I said this on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. If you don't have a flathead screwdriver, you don't have your Phillips head, a hammer, you don't have the tools you need to build the house, you're not building the house. And right now, Florida State doesn't have those tools. So, the carpenters and the construction guys are their hands are tied because they don't have what they need in order to get the job done. And I cannot wait for all these prima donna post late tenure Jimbo, Willie Taggart, let's let's vibe and dance and not hold each other accountable bullshit to get out of the program. That's just what it is. I'm not gonna sit here and name names. We've all shared lists of names that are out there who are leaving, and it didn't do add up here. I really hope that's what happens because it needs to happen.
My,
I'm fully on a youth movement, hitting the portal, hitting JUCO ranks, and just getting all that bad, cutting out the cancer and getting rid of it. Because one, not to sit here and be long-winded, but you have upperclassmen that want to cut corners. You have a team meeting without the entire team there, and you have half the team that wants to bust their ass and get the job done, and the other half just wants to. I don't like the coaching staff. They're holding me accountable. I gotta put in work. Man, you're at Florida State. Florida State. You're not at, no offense to CJ, you're not at Bethune Cookman. You're not at you're not at some FCS, school. Nut up or get out. There's so many kids who would kill to be at Florida State, who would bust their ass and get the job done. And right now Florida State has all these guys who are national recruits who just suck
my
as individuals and as players.
my main problem with this too is you're setting up these team meetings. Okay, it feels like what there's been three now, 4 or 5. I don't know, but
There's one every week.
yeah, there's been about pretty
Okay?
much practically one a
But
week. But you're
no, there's one every week. Period. Okay,
but
it's the second and third ones that we're talking about now.
yeah, the players meetings that they're setting up. So the players meetings, but this meeting, the whole focus was towards, from what was reported. This is from 247 Sports. This is not from us. This is what from Brendan Sonone, great guy, and covers over there for 247 Sports. So they put this out. But just going off of what they have here, their focus was the players meeting to figure out a way to have a day off, and it was being led, from what we heard, at least on our end, this was led by veteran guys that have been there for numerous years, leaders.
You're
And
supposed to leaders
you're supposed
on
to
your
leaders.
team.
But this is the meeting that you're wanting to hold, and maybe not another meeting about why the defense is getting torn apart by average quarterbacks and average running backs. You don't want to have a meeting on maybe why Amari Gaynor should be out on the field more. Maybe you should want to be able to talk to a coach about maybe you should be on the field more. Do you not want to talk about maybe we can rip apart an offensive line that shouldn't even play any games with us? There shouldn't be any games played with Florida State's defensive line for most of these matchups. But guess what? There are games and the offensive line is beating them. You don't want to have meetings about that, maybe calling each other out, maybe figure out a way to get a few sacks instead of getting none. That the whole focus all along was to figure out a way to get some practice time off for a team that's won 2 games. I don't know about that one. So let me get Jack in here. He's joining us now. Let me get Jack in here, and let's get a little segue here. We were about to go off there, but good. We get to reset the shockers here from Nate dropping an F-bomb.
Hello, everyone.
What is up, Jack? What's going on?
Hey, what's up, man?
on, Jack?
Nothing much. Nice. Thank you for adding me.
I'm excited. Jack, do you have your? Are you able to turn your camera on, because we have to have the camera for the tattoo?
would you like me to rejoin? I'm sorry. I had to go drop something off because somebody left their wallet in my car, and I was like, they were flipping out about it. And I was like, well, I'm really supposed to be joining this thing. Don't worry. I'll be on Pensacola Street heading home. Would you like me to rejoin then?
You can rejoin. That's perfect because we're gonna finish up a topic anyway. So you can do just that. You
Sounds
can
great.
just join
All right.
back in
Thank
here.
you, guys.
No
All
problem.
right.
See
So
you.
I'll join that in a minute then. See you then.
See ya.
Bye.
All right.
Boom. So that means that we can finish off our thing here. But yeah, that was my problem. Is that's what you're really focused on having a meeting for? Is that case of you want to have some time off of practice? You want to have time off of practice after being 2-4?
That should tell you right now why this defense sucks. Right there. Enough about Norvell. Norvell's the guy. Oh, Willie Taggart. Well, enough of the bullshit. Players. They're all, not all of them, but the group that we're talking about can all step. Go ahead, Steve.
To be clear, Nate, timeline wise, they had the regular team meeting that they always have.
Mhm.
What that was Sunday right after Louisville,
Yeah.
right? That's when that is.
Yeah.
And then that following Mondays when they called the players only meeting. And when exactly was this meeting about this Saturday practice?
Some point during the week.
Some point during last week, right?
Yep.
I gotcha. And it's just coming out now that,
Mhm.
and the first players only meeting, just so everybody's clear, was every player, right? Every player was invited.
Yeah. So let me reiterate that. So we're having another team meeting. The older guys called it up. I'll let we'll go from there. That was 10:26. Okay. So yet we have another team meeting, and as Logan Focused said, it's to focus on what can we do to not practice and have some time off to God knows what. So, and when I ask one player about it and he's not there, what kind of team meeting really is it?
Was he not there because he chose not to go, or was he there because he wasn't invited?
Well, we all know who this is, or have
Yes.
a good idea who it is. This person would not go.
Not go. Right. So, yeah. That's, I mean, you talk about the division on the team. That's clear to me. Okay, we invite everybody, these veteran guys, they invite the entire team to the first meeting. That meeting doesn't go how they think it's going to go.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's pretty much clear. Basically, I mean, I'm speculating here some, but they have that meeting and, whatever the topic was about, and they're expecting a lot of people to be on their side. 15-20% of the team is. Most of the team is not. Basically, most of the team basically says, shut the heck up. We're here to play football. If you're not on board, go somewhere else. Maybe they didn't say that in as much as terms, but their actions made that known. And so now they call the other meeting, and now guess what? Instead of inviting all those people that basically told them to shut up before and ignored them before, they're not even invited. I mean, that's some issues with these guys. But if you've been following Florida State since 2017, that should not be a surprise to you, because we've seen that act and play out on the field over and over and over and over and over again. They're about themselves, and that's okay. Whatever, you're about yourselves, and some of them, they have other things going on. They're very involved with academics. Some of them, might have some political aspirations. They have other things going on. Fine, that's okay. But you came to Florida State to play football. That has to be a huge priority. Maybe not your number one priority, but that's got to be a priority to where you're not trying to take practices off. You're not trying to do those things. And, people might be, oh, well, it was Halloween. Maybe they're trying to get Halloween off. Who cares? You're a college kid. Why are you worried about Halloween? When I was coaching high school football, we had kids that would ask that same thing. And CJ can, if CJ was here, he could he could relate this to you. We had kids who would be like, "Hey, coach, it's Halloween. Are we going to get off?"
Hell no.
What? No, no, you're
I never
not
had-
going to get off. We're going to have our regular practice like we always do. Afterwards, whatever you want to go do, have fun. But we're having our regular practice because we have football games to win. No, you're not having it off. I don't care if it's Halloween or not. I'm getting a little worked up, but it's like,
That's not bad for worked up, Steve. That's not too bad. No
I
F
know
bomb.
I'm pretty laid back, but
No,
I got to calm
know,
myself down some. So, but it's like,
Well, because we've been around football. I mean, I played it, but but this is high school that I played in. That still was the case for me. There was no way practice is practice. You're gonna go practice until you're done. Definitely,
I
if
was
you're
in
losing
Pop-
games, you're gonna practice every damn day.
So
I was in Pop Warner, and you know how many of us? And hold on, Nate. And you know how many of us in Pop Warner asked to have Halloween off? None.
none.
Kids, legit kids. We had a winning team. We were bad. We didn't care about Halloween. This is 4th and 5th grade, but you got 22-year-old grown men
On scholarship, getting paid for
on
school.
scholarship to play football for Florida State, having the potential, if they're good enough, to go make millions, asking to have a Saturday off when they just got beat. What was this Louisville score? I tried to put it out of my
48 to
mind. It was-
16, I think.
yeah, they just got beat like
A
a
lot to a
drum
little.
against a bad team,
Mhm.
and they're trying to figure out a way to get a practice off. Come on, man, go somewhere else.
In high school, when I was in high school, we asked for Halloween off, and that was one of the hardest practices I ever had.
Yep.
We ran 400s, we ran gassers, we ran up downs, monkey rolls, and the whole time, hey, you sure you want off? We put work in here. You guys sure you want to ask another day off? You got guys throwing up on the side. That's how it should be.
Mhm.
And the fact that you're upperclassmen with NFL aspirations want off a holiday so they can go get fucked up. There, I dropped one. Sorry. So they can go live the college life. You are not going to make it in the NFL with that
They're
mentality.
not making it in college.
You're not going to make it anywhere with a me first.
Mm-mm.
Looking at the real world.
I wonder if having guys like.
But what the
like
hell?
I wonder if
Like-
having guys like Jernigan, James Wilder Jr., Los.
Joyner
Joyner.
would kill somebody if someone said
Well,
that.
yeah, because he doesn't even give a damn about social media.
No,
Yeah.
but
Karen-
the players back
Smith.
then
Yeah,
were
Talvin.
afraid of Lamarcus Joyner. There's not one person on a team that will publicly ask for a time off because they're afraid of what Lamarcus Joyner is going to say or do.
Could you imagine the locker room in 2013, 2012, even 2014 a little bit, but definitely that 2013 team, and a player come in and ask, "Hey guys, I think we should try to get Saturday off during the bye week. I got Halloween to get ready for with my girl and stuff. I'm gonna go out." What do you
They have
think?
a-
What would Joyner or Telvin Smith or Timmy Jernigan, Jameis Winston, as a redshirt freshman? What do you think? What do you think? How long that meeting would last?
Not long, and that player that asked, if they had the transfer portal then, would have been in the transfer portal in a week.
Because he would have been threatened.
Yeah.
He would have been threatened.
What? No.
Or
you kidding me?
or Lamarcus Joyner would get you on the practice field.
The nasty shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
End your career.
Even a guy Derwin James, you go to Derwin and say, "Hey,
Yeah.
we've all heard the story of him and
Francois.
Frenchie, wanting to take off a summer practice." Dude, I mean, it's just a mentality. It's a
Mhm.
mentality of, and this is I'm going to say it. I'll say it, and I don't care if anyone disagrees with me. It goes to the fact that this is where the transfer portal is a negative, is these kids aren't de-recruited anymore. These kids aren't. They come in with the expectation of being the guy. I was coddled in high school. I was a guy in high school. back in my day, freshmen hardly ever played because one, you got to earn your spot. Two, you ain't showing me nothing, and three, upperclassmen aren't going to let their spot go. They're going to outwork you. Now these kids come in and they have expectations of I need instant gratification. Don't be mean to me because I'll up and leave. So you can't de-recruit. And we told stories of Jeremy Pruitt just going in on Jalen Ramsey when Jalen was a freshman. That would not happen now. This team would tuck their tail, put a thumb in their mouth, suck their thumb, and fold. Part of it is you can't de-recruit. You can't. You can't be mean. You can't be a hard-nosed coach. And that's what some of it is because Norvell don't put up with no shit. His staff doesn't put up with no shit. And if their response is to half-ass their effort, leave, please.
Wish Los would have came on here tonight. I'm sure he would have had probably triple your F-bombs. Because that's firing me up. I just, like, going back to guys that played there in that locker room, I want to bring this up to him whenever we, at some point, too. Because I feel like, too, having the take from a guy that's been there, man. I would love to bring that.
Getting to that, go ahead, Logan. Sorry.
No, you're good. I was in and off on that. I just want to see Carlos's take on what we were just talking about. If that was ticking us off, then
yeah. But getting to that point about de-recruiting, Nate. Not to go too far off the rails, but there's really only 3 ways around that. One, you have a program like Alabama, to where you just process through those guys. If you're not on board, go somewhere else, and you have an endless supply of 4- and 5-star guys to where it doesn't matter. 2, you have a program like Clemson, to where there's so much player accountability and the culture is so strong that the players are going to make sure that you get on board, to where, and if you're not on board, then you're going to be processed. You're not going to be processed out. You're going to leave because you're like, well, this is no fun for me.
Which was Florida State. That was Florida State 2011 to 2013.
Right. The other way is you have to be very vigilant in how you recruit and make sure you recruit guys that you don't have to de-recruit. So you find those guys like Asante Samuel, who no matter what culture you have, no matter what's going around, he's going to be a dog. He's going to be out there working hard, and you don't have to. You recruit him, you plug him in, and you play. And it's not even so much about the talent or the athletic ability or anything like that. It's the mentality. You have to recruit those guys. And that's really, we talked about Norvell having to set the culture now with the guys on the team. Number 2, he's going to have to recruit not even elite players. Obviously, that's going to need to happen eventually, but he's going to have to recruit guys who are mentally ready to play football for Florida State and want to work to get better and want to win. Sorry. All right, off the tangent.
No, I agree. Go back to you and I used to have strong debates about Fred Rouse back in the day. Character matters.
I was right. Just to let everybody know,
you were right. You're right. Yeah, character matters, and just. All right, let's see the tattoo, man.
What's going on, man? What's going on? Let me lay down.
Thank you for adding me.
Yeah, let me lay down just an introduction here too, because for the podcast people listening, they're probably like, "What?" But for people watching video, they understand. But Jack is joining us. Obviously, you went crazy on social media. You made the bet that if Florida State were to upset number 5 North Carolina, that you were going to get Mike Norvell's cornrow picture, which has obviously been a popular one for Florida State fans to use. Yeah. But you're going to use that picture and tattoo it with the score below it. They actually did a beautiful job on this too.
He did do a great job. Yes, he did.
So let's jump through it real quick before we look at it. We got to let the listeners and watchers wait a second. But tell us the whole thought process of this. How many drinks did you have while you were making this sign? How many drinks did you have inside of the stadium? I need to know these things.
Originally, I was going to make the sign for the Jacksonville State game, but it was going to say if FSU loses.
Oh, Lord.
And I thought
You would have been
I
sweating
kinda felt
bullets at
bad for-
halftime.
So when I was sitting there at that game, I was like, oh my gosh, imagine if I brought a sign to this. That would have been terrible. But and originally I was up in the air between doing a picture at the time of the Jacksonville State game of Cornrows Norvell or James Blackman, but I felt bad doing a picture of Blackman because I know that he's a good guy at heart and he just got thrown into a rough situation. So I decided to not pick on any players or anything because, I mean, he's a Division I athlete and he's trying his hardest day in and day out. So.
Did you tell your parents before all this? Did you tell your parents before you made this sign, or is this something you just came up with that day?
Not really, to be honest. Yeah, I didn't.
Do they know yet?
They didn't really. They know. They know. Yeah, no. Yeah.
Right.
They actually were sent pictures and stuff of it while I was at the game. I wasn't the first. Yeah, a guy came up to me and said that he had put it on Twitter, and that it was blowing up. And I said, oh my. And he said, what's your name? And then he put that in there. And then from there, it was basically history. But
yeah. You were screwed. I mean, were you sweating? You get into the fourth quarter.
Initially, I showed up having a lot of fun.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Okay, a lot of fun. Tallahassee is a great. You had your mask on though. That's what sources were telling me. You had your mask on. That was great.
Almost the entire time.
Look at that. But yeah, okay, keep going.
It wasn't Crown Royal mask though. So. But the sheriffs liked it a lot though. So that's all that matters.
This is my favorite kind of mask I wear for games right there. That's
I have a Natter Day hat and shirt in my closet right now.
I'm gonna give money for it. I'm gonna take it from you. But take us through, like, you going through. You made the sign and you thought during the game.
I had worked a lot that week at Publix, and I was like, I want to do it, but like I'm running out of time. And my friends were like, you got to do it. And then they were like, we'll make the sign for you then. So like they had put all the words on there, and like I was like, well, I mean, I kind of have to. So I literally within probably less than 2 hours before the game was at a Staples printing out a picture of Norvell, to which everyone in there, which was probably like 5 people because it's a Staples on a Saturday, was looking at me like I was a weirdo. Besides the fact, so at first they were telling me they couldn't print it, and I was like, I really need this image. I was like I need it. Like I can't like do this without it. And then so finally like the lady like printed it off of her own like personal thing. So I was like, it would all happen because like people helping me out to do it. But so then going through it, I showed up to the game, and I was about at the beginning of the game, halfway up in the student section. Everybody was loving the sign because it was before even the first kickoff. But I mean, from that first drive, the blocked punt and everything, it felt so surreal. Like I didn't know what I was watching. And like I didn't know whether to be on board with it or like to not want to be on board with it. But at the end of the day, like I've been a diehard fan. My dad graduated from Florida State in 77 or 76, I believe, either the first or second year in Bobby Bowden's term. But so obviously he's grown me up the right way. But so I mean, yeah.
This is what it's turned into, and I see the full send flag. I see the full send flag back there too. So you full sent it.
And the bar stool one right there.
A regular college student room. I mean, not like I have anything, right? This is is all professionals, and this is my green screen. So, but you I think it's time you got to show everybody. I think you got to show it. Nada's been craving.
I actually am wearing the shorts that I had for my Halloween costume, which is just a big hole in the shorts.
Oh God! So, hope you're wearing underwear.
Lord, dude.
Oh
man.
Oh my.
It is permanent.
That thing is huge.
I know.
That thing is humongous.
Honestly, it is huge, but I wear like really short shorts. Like my shorts, like I ran cross country my whole life and played soccer. So like even when I wear short shorts, like the whole thing's covered. And like if I drop my boxers down, like it goes right to the line. Like, oh, sorry, I'm kind of at a bad angle. It goes like right to my boxer line. So it's not the worst. Oh my, let me take a step back. Can't get it. Yeah, so like it stops like at the level. So like, honestly, it's not
what
the
a
worst.
Nice surprise.
But it is really big though. Yes, I know.
What a beautiful surprise.
You know what you need to do? You need to have Mike Norvell sign it in Sharpie and go get that tattoo. And
People have said that
I'm
too.
serious. You need to
I know that
have him sign it,
it might be a
and that
good
would complete
idea.
the tattoo.
Yes, I might have to get it like near his face though, so it's not too low.
Now, as someone with 20 tattoos, that is the only
Yeah.
way to finish that one off.
Yeah, you might
Yeah.
have to. Did you saw what Mike Norvell said, right? You saw. What
I
he said.
did, yes. I woke up Saturday morning to seeing myself on College Game Day after getting a text at 2 a.m. from a producer, which
Wow.
I didn't even think was real. I was like, "Are you actually telling me I'm going to be on College Game Day?" And then seeing the tweet, it was like the icing on the cake with both of them being put on TV and hearing who was it? What's his name? I guess Fowler.
There's Fowler.
Yeah, Fowler was the main one.
Okay.
And I think a little bit of not Jesse Palmer, but the other guy from the SEC.
David Pollock.
Maybe Pollock. Maybe
Pollock, yes, it was Pollock. Pollock was on there too. Of course, he wanted to talk trash about it.
Oh, of course.
But David Pollock for you.
I love.
But
you kept your word, and did you after they won? Did you put back on your mask and then have a good time because you knew you were screwed? Like, obviously, it's all over social media.
So,
right?
For the second half, I was in like the third row because everybody knew like I had to be down there. And I was calling out to Todd McShay. I was like, "Hey, Todd, like, you might as well just put me on right now." And then like he looked and laughed, and I was like, "No, but I'm being serious." I was like, the cameras, they were like very reluctant to show me, and I don't even know why. I guess because it's like a tattoo, which shouldn't have any negative connotations because like everybody like gets tattoos. Like,
Yeah.
But the cameras kept like nodding their heads no. But at the end of the game, obviously, when the players like jumped up, it's like that's what happened. Like immediately after that ball was dropped, everybody from like behind me rushed down. So it was like all 2,000 or whatever, I think 4,000 college kids were there. And then like obviously I'm 2 rows from the front, so like of course I'm going to the front row. So then like I jump up on the ledge, even though you're not supposed to. And the lady did come after a while and say, "I need to get down." And I said, "Yes, ma'am." But but I was standing up there and it was like so surreal because like I've wanted my whole life to be a college student and be able to like experience a win that like I mean, I don't know, like growing up, like Florida State had their rougher times in the early 2000s, but like for a long while, it went so well that like you would never see, oh yeah, an unranked 1-win Florida State team beats a top 5 team. Like, I mean, I think it hadn't happened since 60 something, I believe, or I think or something. Yeah, it's been a long while. So it was like
Boston College, 2002 or 7.
2002.
2007, whatever it was, when they beat
Yeah.
Boston College.
Yes, it was Boston College because what's his name? Matt Ryan was on the team, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So you did it. Wait, people are asking where you got the tattoo.
Yes. So I got it from. It's called Carbon Ink. It's gonna be, I forget. It's a little bit further from the campus, and I believe it's off of Capitol Circle, which obviously goes around the whole town. But it's called Carbon Ink, and it's near it's like a roller skating rink.
Okay. And you had a lot of people.
I forget what kind of. Yes.
And you had a lot of people funding. You had a lot of people funding you. Oh yeah, tell us who the artist is. Yeah, tell us who the artist is.
The artist is Emilio Rodriguez.
Okay.
Emilio, yes, he's a really good man. He's been a firefighter for the city, and he's been doing tattoos for 10 years. And he's an alum, of course. That's why he reached out.
Love it. And
but yeah, no, I woke up that initial after the game. I woke up with messages from Madison Social saying they'd offer 500. And then him then sending me like and posting about it saying he'll do it for free. And I was like, well, like, Mom, I think I have to do it now. I can't back out now.
Yeah, what'd the parents say now? What'd the parents say?
Well, I mean, my dad just thinks it's funny and also that I'm stupid, but my mom, I still feel like my mom doesn't think it's real. I'd actually gone home to Orlando. I'm from Winter Park, Florida. To visit for family and whatnot, and drove back Tuesday morning that I was getting the tattoo, and I had got to like my apartment now, and my mom was like called me and she said, "So this is really happening?" And I was like, "Honestly, Mom, like I feel like it's too late to back out." And then I drove over to his house, got there like 12:30. He let the what's it called? Stencil, yes, that's the word. He let the stencil sit for like 30 minutes, and then I laid down for about 4. To which halfway through it, he said, "I'm surprised you haven't asked me to take a break yet, because usually most people have." And I said, "I thought the side of the leg wouldn't be a painful spot." And he was like, "It's pretty painful." I was like, "Thanks." I myself hate needles. I do not like needles. Yeah.
Oh, man. So you were going through it. So you took one for the team, too. You took one
I
for the
guess
team.
so. Yeah. I did not like shots growing up as a kid. I'd rather that than a shot, to be honest.
I don't blame you. But before we let you go, real quick, I thought we got to get your score prediction for the Pittsburgh game on Saturday, 4 p.m. Obviously, pretty. You got to get a win for Florida State on their side of things. But
it has to be a win. I mean, I would like to say we could at least put up at least 35 to 38 points.
Ooh,
you would think. I mean, I don't know. Maybe on a low ball, like 24 points. I just feel like Travis has had a night off, like a week off. Sorry, before I say this, after the game on Pensacola Street, I was waiting for a ride home, and the people I was with, the girl was like, "Hey, wait, that's the quarterback," and I was like, "Yeah, okay." And I look up, and Jordan Travis with his girlfriend is just walking down the street, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" I was like, "Hey, I have to get a tattoo of your coach like really soon." So that was like such a weird coincidence, because like I just ran into Jordan Travis, and then over the weekend, a couple of the players had come up to me and asked for videos of my leg during Halloween, to which I had to say yes. I cannot say those players though, because they were not supposed to be out, but they were out.
It's good. That's good. We're making sure they're out, and they have their masks on. They have their FSU masks on, so that's all.
Yes,
that's all
exactly. They did have masks on. No, but I don't know. It's really hard because, like, I had thought the Louisville game was going to go so differently. I don't know. I thought it was going to be like one of the fairy tale end like ways to go out with the season. Play good. But hopefully the week off helped them. They're rested more. Travis's left arm, I mean, I guess he's doing better. I mean, they said he was doing better. So I'd like to say we could put up enough points to beat Pitt, and hopefully the defense won't give up 500 yards. So I feel like they could score anywhere from like 17 to 24, give or take. I feel like we could still win. It's at Doak. So I'm going to go with an actual score. We'll go 34. Hopefully the field goal kicker will actually make them this time. We'll go 34-24. With a fast start for us and then a slow middle, like always, like it has been for the past years.
I like it. I like it. All right. First one of the night takes a win. He's expecting a win. If he doesn't get a win now, what tattoo are you going to get next?
Well, somebody said that I got a comment that said, if we beat Clemson, I'll buy you whatever tattoo you want.
Oh, damn.
But
you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about that one.
I know, especially with Trevor Lawrence coming back for that game.
Oh yeah, he'll be ready to play.
But no, yeah, I've heard like funny things, like I could do like Mount Rushmore with Bobby Bowden, Bobby Bowden, probably Charlie Ward. Winky, you're done, and then Jameis Winston squinting.
Oh, that'd be perfect. That'd be perfect.
But,
oh man, what year are you in right now?
I am a freshman.
There we go. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. It all is coming together. It all comes together. Hey man, I loved the story. It's perfect, man. I was enjoying. I was getting tagged from our Instagram account all throughout it, saying you got to get him on. You got to get him on IG Live. Got to get him on. And I saw on Twitter too, Mad So was Stoney out there. I was like, we gotta get him on the podcast, man. It's legendary, man. And obviously, great game too. And
thank you so much for having me. Yeah,
definitely.
I've been to almost a game every year of my life, and that was probably top 2 games because of obviously the situation, but also just because of I didn't expect it in any way. I thought we could compete, but not to the level they had played at least the first half, and they fought still in the second half. So
yeah, exactly.
But yeah,
it was a beautiful night, and now it's etched into your leg, literally.
It is the date and all.
Hey man, keep full sending it. Appreciate you for coming on with us, Jack.
Thanks so much for having me. I'll be on the ACC network next Tuesday, I believe, 5:30 to 7:30, like on the actual network with EJ Manuel.
Oh, EJ.
I know.
See, Nate, I told you I had to get him on here.
Before you go, Jack, my brother, Coach Pointer, wanted to say hi.
No, this is too much of a small world. Oh my gosh.
So,
That's insane. Coach Pointer. Guys, if you can put this part, I mean, even if you can't,
he's
that's
watching.
so funny. Oh no. Oh, I love Coach Pointer. I got to go back and see Pointer soon. Hopefully football's been going good for Lake Cal this year. I've been checking in, but oh my.
They've been doing well.
Nice to meet you then, even though it's through Zoom, but that's so funny.
That's perfect. Hey man, appreciate. Hey, enjoy your weekend. Make sure you have that mask on, wearing it this weekend.
Of course.
I know you're gonna.
I'll probably be wearing either a spear or maybe the Crown Royal again. It depends on what the mood is, but definitely this shirt. This is the lucky shirt.
You gotta wear. You gotta keep that for dope.
I wore the coaching shirt to the first game. Did not work.
Yeah, I switched it up.
I'm never wearing it again.
That's perfect. All right, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, enjoy ACC Network, man. That's awesome.
Thank you so much. Yeah, you guys have a great night. Thanks for having me.
You too, man.
All right, man.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, let's jump into the last little bit here, and then we'll get off of here. Florida State versus Pittsburgh, 4 o'clock ACC Network. Good luck finding it. I don't know. You can probably find one when you do the YouTube trial. I don't know. I hate the ACC Network, so best of luck finding it at Comcast. You suck. But real quick, let's just run through these. Run through these real quick. Do we see Hamza Najaldine or Tamaron Terry this week? What do y'all think? What are the odds on that?
I think we see Terry.
Yeah,
I'd take Terry.
Yeah, we see Terry. I don't think Hamza plays at all this year.
Yeah, I'm not seeing Hamza out there for the rest of the season. No reason to, in my opinion, whatsoever.
Nope.
Tamaron Terry, I'm at a 70%. I don't know. We'll see if we hear anything over before the Saturday hits. But real quick, keys to beating Pittsburgh. Obviously, one of the things with them is a terrible rushing game. But if you look on the other side of the ball for Florida State's rushing defense, it is about as bad as theirs on the other side. So, what are your thoughts on the keys to beating Pittsburgh on Saturday?
So for me, real quick, 3 keys. Florida State's got to run the ball. Pitt does a tremendous job in the front 7. They get after it. 31 sacks, 32 quarterback hurries, less than 70 yards per game, giving up 1.94 yards per rush. Florida State's got to be able to run the ball. They got to get Terry back and have that deep threat to open things up. Pitt offensively, interested to see if Pickett plays. Before he went out, he was the number 1 passer in the country, and they've been flat terrible without him. Their offenses, even with Pickett, they struggle to run the ball. Situationally, they are really horrible across the board when it comes to running. On 3rd and medium, they average a loss of 5.5 yards to carry. When you look at Florida State's defense, we've talked about it so far quite a few times. They ain't shown me nothing, and any game is a toss-up when your team's not putting forth the effort. So, if Florida State can put together some sort of a consistent effort against his team, really, that team shouldn't beat Florida State. Even if you look at the where Florida State's at, they have too many question marks. Their best defensive back just opted out. So Florida State has a lot of opportunity to, get a W against a Power 5 conference opponent. So, for me, the biggest thing, they got to run the ball, and they got to get Terry back to stretch the field on offense.
Yeah, I think in order to run the ball, we have to have, and this is the biggest key to me on offense, we have to have either Terry back healthy enough to stretch the field, or Jordan Young or Wilson or one of those other guys has to step up. Because if we don't stretch the field and we allow Pitt to play, 8 or 9 in the box like Louisville was doing, they had their safeties were 6 yards the entire game coming forward, not backpedaling, coming forward. Mm-hmm. So they essentially have 9 guys in the box for the majority of the game because they're not worried about anything deep. So and Louisville has a bad run defense. Pitt is an elite run defense to where they can have 7 in the box and stop us running the ball. So if they can put 8 or 9 in the box and we don't beat them deep, it's going to be a very long day. Wouldn't surprise me if that's the case to have them shut us out. Just because that's their weakness. If we can't expose it, their strength is better than our strength on offense, quite honestly. Our offensive line has improved, but it's not ready to be able to do well enough without a passing attack against a defense like Pitt. It's just not. That's just being honest. So if we don't get anything deep passing, if we're not able to hit some throws deep early, it'll be a very long day on offense. And defensively, Pitt's offense is dreadfully awful. With Pickett, it's average. It can suffice. But with this quarterback, and I was going back and looking at his stats, of any quarterback we faced in the last decade that has actually started games before they faced Florida State, he is the worst. That's how bad, like production-wise, that's how bad he is. So against us, he'll probably have, 60% completion percentage, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and interception. We tend to make quarterbacks that suck. We've seen that. I mean, even before Norvell or Kelly and Taggart, and we've seen that. Even in some of the dynasty years, or not dynasty, the lost years. Sorry, not the before, after the dynasty. In the lost decade and stuff like that. It's been a 20-year history of Florida State making average quarterbacks look amazing, and on a regular basis. So it's certainly within question. But if our defensive players just come and play aggressive and with some attitude and work hard, we'll have our best defensive game of the season. So that's the key to me, is playing hard on defense. And, I don't want to say trying. I don't want to say they're not trying, but, giving it everything, giving it their all, and playing aggressive. If we can do that, we'll stop them. And, they have no running game. They have no passing game. They have no players like Tutu Atwell or Javian Hawkins or the North Carolina running backs or the Notre Dame running back or De'Aaron King, or, they don't have players like that. They just don't. So, there's nobody. You look at their offense, there's nobody that scares you at all. And there's not an offensive line that scares you like Notre Dame. They just don't have it.
Real quick before you chime in, Logan, I like to look at stats. I think stats tell the story overall. But you look at the passing offense, they throw on 21% of the time on first down. On first down and second down, Florida State is giving up 957 yards, 66.2% completion percentage. So, that's interesting to see that there. Pitt is efficient on second down, but when they get to third, it is laughable. They do not run the ball at all against Notre Dame. Back to the passing real quick. They were 12 for 33. Miami 23 to 47. Louisville 23 to 38. And that was with Pickett. Minus the Louisville game, Florida State arguably had a better game. And that offense gets worse as the game goes. You look at they rushed for 3.49 yards per rush on first down. On third down, they averaged 0.87 yards per rush. Their leading rusher, 2.89 yards per rush. Against Notre Dame, they averaged 2.2. Florida State had 3.83. Against Miami, they had 0.85. Florida State had 4.19. Against Louisville, while Florida State was dreadful, they still had 6.63 yards per rush, while against Louisville, Pitt had 3.9. The strength of this team is their defense. They can't stop the pass, though. They've given up 1,235 yards, 14 touchdowns in the last 4 games. So this is an interesting game. The stats tell this team is falling in the wrong direction very quickly.
I think going back to what Steve was talking about too, Pittsburgh's offense is not great whatsoever, really. At all. They don't have time playmakers, but it's going to be ugly versus ugly. Two ugly chicks going at it with Florida State's defense and Pittsburgh's offense, which is going to be the highlight. It's going to be like a rough and rowdy match. It's some disgust. It's going to be like wrestling in the mud at some redneck party. Like, it's going to be terrible to watch. That's what I'm expecting, but it's going to be the storyline for me.
Can we get rain? Can we get rain on Saturday too?
Yeah, just make it even more
rain
fun. I want it to look just awfully disgusting. I want it to look terrible, but I think although offensively for Florida State, I think you're going to have to find a way for Jordan Travis to get out of that pocket and get out of the pocket quick. We've seen progression of this offensive line. Yes, Coach Atkins is doing a great job, but it's not going to be able to withstand this hurricane front that's going to be coming Cat 5 on Saturday at 4 p.m. It's just not going to be the case. It's just not fully ready for that. I hope that there's at least some play being made up there, but it's just not going to be fair, and you're going to have to find packages for Jordan Travis to roll out, and that's something that we've seen him kind of be limited in the last game and the last half of the North Carolina game. Like, you'll see spurts of it here and there, but man, we don't see it where, hopefully the healing process has happened and he's able to send it, but you're gonna have your third running back with Jordan Travis making plays on Saturday, or you're just not gonna have anything because, like Nate has mentioned, the passing game is not there right now, and if you don't have the passing game and you're going to be facing a defensive line and the front seven like this, it's going to be a very, very long game offensively, and there could be a possible shutout. You got to find ways to get Jordan Travis out of there, and if not, if you got to find a way to throw the ball somehow, maybe you have to have you throw in a true freshman with having Chubba Purdy in there and a few design packages just for making throws, or maybe you got to get a third down, or got to get a first down and third down, something like that. You just got to be really creative. Norvell is really creative with that, so we'll see what happens. I want to see more of 9 and 8 moving forward. 9 and 8, 9 and 8, 9 and 8.
Have to see it this week.
That should be all it really is right there.
Travis coming off of the injury. I'm a disagree with Steve a little bit. I think that Florida State has enough wide receiver. If Terry comes back, that just is a lift. I think if Travis, leading up to getting banged up and hurting that shoulder, hasn't been overly efficient, but he's been able to hit those chunk plays on a better than average basis. And Florida State has to hit those this week. And I think the week off is going to help him there, but you have to feed Philly, Webb, Corbin in this game, because this is a really physical front seven. 31 sacks on the season. They get after the quarterback.
Well, I say we jump into him right now, gentlemen, to end off the podcast. Let's give our score predictions for Saturday, Florida State versus Pittsburgh on the ACC network. Who wants to go first?
You go first, Steve.
All right. Going off of, my keys, I think our defense, I think you're going to see some, the personnel shifts that have been mentioned on Twitter and, among other sites. I think you're going to see some of those on defense this week. Mm-hmm. And so I think that effort level and that kind of stuff is going to be much improved in this game. You're going to see mistakes, especially as younger and younger guys play. Yeah, you're going to see those mistakes. It's natural. It happens. But Pittsburgh doesn't have the speed of Atwell and Hawkins and those guys to be able to take advantage of those mistakes, on a big scale, and so instead of a 60-yard pass, it's going to be a 20-yard pass, and then Florida State maybe be able to stop them after that. I don't think we're going to get much going on offense, but I think we'll stop them enough on defense to where, we win 20-17.
2017. Okay. A 3-point win. Wait, okay. I'm trying to think. Is Fitzgerald hit a rebound here and he gets it together?
Mm-hmm. You better.
Yeah. No, he goes 1 of 5.
Oh my!
Oh, shit!
Oh Lord, that hit a whole 180 there.
2 of 5. 2 of 5. Sorry, 2 of 5.
2 of 5. Yeah, got to hit that too. But so I look at it as this is strength for strength. Florida State is 30th in the country running the ball right now. And we've just got done talking about how great Pitt is stopping the run. Florida State has to be able to keep that defense honest because I think it's a huge loss in their safety. I think that we haven't talked enough about that yet. He's far and away the best player in the secondary. Um, so no, I think that opens up some things for Florida State in the passing game. They're trending the last 4 weeks, really struggling to stop the pass, and now you lose your best defensive back. You lose your captain on the back end. I think that that plays in Florida State's favor. I think that the game is ugly throughout. I think that Florida State will be able to force some short field situations, whether it's a turnover or block kick. I think they're going to get some short field and able to punch in some scores. I got 26-21 and a really um, ugly effort, ugly game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is gonna be. I need to check the weather for Saturday because it's just all adding up to be just some disgusting game. But I'm sure. Oh, Saturday cloudy. Come on, someone give me a thunderstorm or something. I'm gonna,
2 hour delay.
yeah, give me one of those. That's just how this
Yeah.
game feels like it's gonna be.
Yeah.
But I really don't know where this game is gonna go. I'll be honest. I know Pittsburgh's
Mhm.
offense is pitiful. I also know Florida State's defense is pitiful. If Pickett comes back, yeah, he's not a phenomenal quarterback. I know a lot of people are like, Pickett, if he comes back, he's gonna rout Florida State. Blah blah. I don't think that's the case. But whenever you're looking at Florida State's offense having to face this defense, it really worries me. It really does. I understand offensive line is improving, but it's just not there yet, in my opinion. It's just not going to be the case. I'm worried if this is Jordan Travis's true last game of being really your true starting quarterback moving forward, or if it begins the move towards going Chuba Purdy for the rest of the season. I think this is where a game you might find this out because I just don't know if you're really going to be limited with the passing game. Even if Tamarion Terry comes back, I really don't know. That defensive line for Pittsburgh is really going to get after him. I'm going to go Florida State 21, Pittsburgh 24. I'm going the opposite of you guys, which I don't usually ever do, but I just don't feel so good about it. I felt really good going into the North Carolina game. I felt also, of course, really good going into the Louisville game. Both of them I was incorrect on. So I got to get correct here soon. I got to get something switched up here. So I'm going with actually my gut feeling, and we'll see what happens. But I think that's pretty much going to do it unless y'all have anything else to say. I appreciate you, Steve. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
We got some slackers on our podcast, so they just they're not like me and Nate, built for adult podcasting and adult hard work in this life. So, but hopefully we'll have them on for our instant reaction. We're gonna have an instant reaction on Saturday later in the evening, so you guys can come hang out for that. Definitely appreciate Steve coming on here. You can check him out at Unconquered Talk. Also, Nate is over there too with their podcast. Definitely go check them out. We had Steve on for our Renegade Roundup before the season 2 when we previewed this whole thing. So definitely appreciate Steve coming on here. We do have a pretty crazy, cool announcement. We are growing in the podcast platform area. I don't know. I guess we're growing as a network. We're announcing a new podcast tomorrow. So definitely excited about that one. Really interested to see the feedback from people on it. So that will be tomorrow on our Twitter at the Knoll Game Day. You can follow this podcast Twitter at Hear the Spear. You can listen on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify. If you want to, feel free to rate 5 stars and leave a review. It definitely helps a lot. We're listening always to your guys' review. Thanks, guys. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy it. Florida State versus Pittsburgh on Saturday at 4. Thanks, guys, for listening.